Welcome back to Soul Purpose with Shemama. This is your host, Shenora Lechleidner, also known as Shemama the Underwire Slayer. So I wanted to do a bonus episode because last week was so jam-packed with updates that I wanted to come back on here and address the houseless and hopeless podcast that I did. What happened was the word got out again about our situation. And I actually wrote a status about things that I don't take for granted. And I wanted to come from a space of, I realized that even in this hard, that there's so much good happening simultaneously. And so sometimes when it happens, people tend to think that, oh, well, you're not struggling as much as you say you are because look at all these highlights. And I've made that mistake in the past before, but I realize that just because there's highlights doesn't necessarily mean that everything is all better. It just means that you have a little bit more courage or encouragement to move through. So, as I'm thinking about this houseless and hopeful season, that we're going to need community. We're going to need community. I was talking to Pastor Nina from the Well Global, and it's a women's ministry. Now they have a Well Global men's as well. And this ministry is so amazing. I've been knowing this family since 2004, I think. And the things that they have done just in the kingdom, period, have been absolutely amazing. Like there are some people who are out here getting equipped for the kingdom in the right way. And it's because of this ministry and what the Lord has graced them to do. And so I do have the opportunity of, talking with her, and she listened to the episode and she goes, Shenora, it's all about community. People in these times, they need to get with at least 5 other families to say, okay, if things go a little left, we can count on one another. Like maybe I don't have potatoes, but you have potatoes, but I have broccoli, or I have something to contribute, but I may not have everything. But when we put them all together, what an amazing meal we can have. And it's not just about food, it's about resources, gifts, talents. Bring it all together. And so, who are your 5? Because not everyone can depend on immediate family. We are. We are testimony to that. I'm not saying that my immediate family, there's nothing really wrong with them. It's just that they don't have the capacity to help us in the way that we need to. And they're nowhere near us. So they can't physically help at all. So wherever you are, do you have 5 families or 5 people that you can say, hey, if things really, really go down, this is who I can count on in times of emergency. This is who I can count on that, maybe I don't have one thing, but I have another. And community is so important. And so when we had that conversation, I started thinking about like, okay, so who's my 5? Now I've cultivated these type of communities in the past, but because of hurt and rejection or things were going great and then all of a sudden they didn't, I kind of hesitate, to say, okay, these are going to be my 5, or even this is going to be my 1, because people change it up on you. We live in an individualistic society. And this is something that even with Tribe Ujima Trust, we are trying to get across to people in Western Georgia, because we have a garden full of food. We have a garden full of food, but we need volunteers to help us to maintain it. It's not enough of us. And it's not enough of us with, an open schedule. And so sometimes the big work lands on the same few people, and it's hard, for them. We don't want anybody to get burnt out. But then I hear people saying, oh, I've got my own garden, I've got this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, if we would just come together, we all have investment in this one big place. And you bring your seeds, you bring your seeds, you bring your gardening tools, even though we have some, and let's work at this thing together so that we can yield more for the community. But people don't think like that. And it's, I want to make sure me and mine's, we're okay. And that is the reason why there are a lot of people who have fallen into the situation that we have fallen into, where we're just like, dang, what are we going to do now? We thought we had, that type of community, and we just didn't. We just didn't. It went away. So who are going to be your people for this season? Because it's not that it's a bad thing that it went away. It's just that you have to have a faith that God will give you the community that you need. And so I wanted to share a testimony with you because when I wrote that status, one of my church members reached out. And guys, I kid you not, she said, hey, well, we should get together. She meant the very next day. And that's exactly what we did. And we went down a list, and she gave me some resources, not just resources like, okay, here, take this. It was, have you checked with this? Have you did this? Have you did that? We have checklists now. She sends me a checklist every day to say, okay, let's try this, and this. Already, I have been able to save $64 a month on my electricity bill because she knew something that I didn't know, because I'm a new resident and we are renters. And with her knowledge, she was able to help us bring our bill down. And I'm just like, wow, God, this is what was necessary. This is what I've been praying for. I've been saying like all year, if there would be just somebody that will come in and say, hey, this is what you need to do, I'd be so grateful, because I've been doing it on my own, or I've been asking for things, or people would send resources, but they weren't the right resources for the situation that we're in. And so it's not that I'm ungrateful, but it just wasn't the right help. And one of the things that she said to me that stuck all the way out, like she said a lot of stuff, but this is what stuck all the way out. She said, I'm tired of people praying for you and no one giving you actual results, resources that will actually render results. And how many times have we had the results, whether it be in our wisdom or in our resources, and we gate kept? Now, I'm not a gatekeeper. I'm going to tell you everything, okay? I'm going to tell you everything. I'm going to tell you where I got it from. You compliment me on a dress. If I got it for 50 cents or $5, I'm going to tell you. And I'm going to tell you exactly where it was and how many they had left. But not everybody's like that. And so if you are that person where you know that you can help somebody, but I don't know how they're going to feel about if I tell them this, or I don't want to overstep. This is the season to overstep. Now, if somebody says, I don't receive that, say, mind your business, that's fine. But if it's me, yeah, overstep. I'm not going to say, I don't need you telling me anything. Now, I realize that everybody can't tell you everything, right? I get that. But do not withhold or feel like people will get offended if you have something to help them. That's a part of being in a community. So I just wanted to come on here and say, hey, it's starting to get better. Do I have the resources that I need for my kids yet? Nope, I do not. But there are people who have donated to our spot fund. That link is in the description of this podcast episode, and it's also on myshemama.com. I've had people that have supported the business this past week. I have had some very fruitful conversations about motherhood and raising these genius children that I have. We just celebrated the National Junior Honor Society for Kai, and then just this past week, my daughter found out that she ranked higher than 96% of the whole United States for the National Spanish exam. There's so much gratitude in the midst of grief. So much. And yes, we still need a lot of help. However, I feel like if you heard what George said and you say you're not ashamed to ask for help, that is when things start really, really happening. And I've asked for help before, but the difference has been, it was asking for help, but also like putting it in like a little saran wrap of shame. Because even though I did all that I know to do, and use and implement some of the suggestions that people gave me, it still wasn't enough. And I felt like I should have known better, or I should know how to do this, or I should know how to do that. And it's just not possible. My mental capacity, or how can I put my mental real estate is not going to know everything. That's why we need community, because I have some strengths that other people may not have, and vice versa. So if you're in a space where you feel like you're stuck, or there's so much coming at you but you just don't know what next steps to take, the first thing I suggest to you is to connecting to community. You don't have to go to a church just because everybody else goes there. You can pray and look online and see if somebody's streaming services, and then decide, if that's a church that you want to join. I know that some people have made church very, very ugly, but I am confident that God will supply everything that you need according to his riches and glory, as long as you're open. When we were looking for a church, we asked God for specific things that we wanted to see or experience in that church, and we're getting just that because we weren't afraid to ask. So connect with community. If you don't necessarily want to be a part of a church culture and that's just not your thing, go to community clubs, community organizations. Tribe Ujima Trust is a great one, where you have community and you don't necessarily have to be bound to a certain type of religion or faith. We just want to collectively help the kids. Okay? So where's your community? Outside of your blood, where's your community? Who are your five? That's our assignment for this week. And I'm looking forward to sharing even more good news and testimonials with you as our family goes through this process. All right, guys, have an amazing week. I love you, and I mean it.